Thank you everyone for joining us. Dave Roberts is now available for questions. First question's from Dave Vassay. Go ahead, Dave.
Dave, around this time in spring training, 3 or 4 weeks in, sometimes you hear pitchers talk about arm fatigue. Is that something that they have to be aware of themselves? And is that something that's on your radar since you guys started up on July 3rd and we're in that third or fourth week?
Yeah, I think that, that dead arm fatigue, certainly those are conversations that pitchers are and should be having, constantly with, our pitching guys, the training staff. And this is obviously uncharted territory for all of us. So the players, most importantly, we have to kind of be nimble and understand that things aren't always what we might want them to be, but for them to communicate certainly is helpful.
Can you describe what, as far as just putting more stress on the elbow, the shoulder, from intra-squad game to getting their first taste of pitching in a game, how that has to be something they have to be aware of as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think that every pitcher is different, and we really tried to get our guys to ramp up properly and let them exert themselves as much as they can simulate a Major League Baseball game as possible, so you don't have that conversation of I ramped up, I was going a little bit harder than I was. So then you're kind of putting yourself in harm's way. But every pitcher is different, but I'd like to think all of our guys approached preparing for this season the same way.
Thank you.
Yep.
Next question's from Eric Steven. Go ahead, Eric.
Hi, Dave. AJ Pollock posted on Instagram that he and his wife took their baby home yesterday, and I was just wondering, was he around at all yesterday, or was he gone to deal with that?
He went and took care of his family personal business, but that's something that obviously for a competitive advantage, we wanted to keep that under wraps.
Sure. And I was just wondering, you guys have the road trip coming up, and you're leaving tomorrow. Who's going to be on your taxi squad for that road trip?
We haven't. We know we're going to have a catcher. We haven't completely settled on that. We haven't settled on the pitcher, the relief pitcher. It's going to be a pitcher. There's a couple options we're kind of contemplating, and most likely Zach McKinstry as far as the position player with that versatility he has.
With the catcher, is it basically between Rocky Gale and Kabert, or
correct?
Okay, thanks.
Next question's from Jorge Castillo. Go ahead.
Hi, Dave. Is Pollock going to be with the team today, or do you expect him just to meet you guys in Houston?
No, AJ will be with us today. He's in the lineup as a DH today.
Okay. And just a couple of mundane detail questions here. What are you guys leaving tomorrow? And is that different than maybe in the past years in terms of, how you guys will get to the airport and stuff like that? Can you kind of maybe explain that? I know you talked about a little bit about it a couple of days ago, but when are you leaving and so on?
We're leaving tomorrow, wheels up probably sometime early to mid-afternoon tomorrow. And then you kind of fast forward a couple hours and 3 hours of flight time, 3.5 hours flight time, and kind of puts us there, middle of the evening.
Will you guys meet at the airport, or will you guys meet at Dodger Stadium like you usually do, or whatever?
We have, I think, 4 buses to allow us to sit separately. And some guys might meet us at the airport. Some guys and staff will go on the buses. But it's kind of a snaked seating situation.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Next question's from Bill Plunkett. Go ahead, Bill.
Hey, we just talked to Will Smith, and he said that he expects to play a lot of video games in the hotel room on this trip. Now, I'm just wondering, do you prefer Fortnite or Call of Duty for your video game playing?
You know what? I did a deeper dive into both, and I guess For what I've heard, I would probably be a Call of Duty guy. But Fortnite, there's a little bit more to it, and then the strategies. Call of Duty is a little bit easier to play, I think. So I think that my attention to something like that probably leans towards the Call of Duty, I guess.
I assume you're not taking a video game player with you on the road. So how are you going to kill all those extra hours in the hotel?
Yeah, the last gaming station I had was, I think, a Nintendo or a PlayStation 2. They don't make those anymore. I think for me, it's just I'm going to try to, I binge shows. Obviously, once I get into the mind of baseball, there's going to be a lot of time in the hotel, but just kind of preparing for the Astros, the Diamondbacks. And when we're in San Diego, I'll be fortunately at home. Hopefully have a couple coaches over after games and, keep our distance, but I like to kind of have the coaches around as well.
The players a couple times now have mentioned discussing these things amongst themselves, the behavior away from the park and almost a code of conduct. What kind of conversations have you had? Do you trust that the players will police themselves? Is that just kind of how you're approaching it?
I am, but I've had, one-offs with certain players, but I think that they've had their own conversations, which is important and probably more impactful. We have talked about the fact that, you got to win on the field, but also, winning off the field is going to be important too for each team. So, staying safe and trying to win the battle of attrition in 20 is going to be beneficial as well.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Next question is from Kurt Sandoval. Go ahead, Kurt. Go ahead, Kurt.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Juan. Hey, Dave, so many storylines coming into this Sprint 60-game season about your depth and obviously all the COVID stuff. If you and I had a cup of coffee tomorrow morning and I said, hey, what's the biggest thing that jumped out at you in this first homestand? What comes to your mind and your heart?
I think the biggest things that comes to mind is the players haven't let the kind of circumstances affect their preparedness, their focus on each game. Because I think that coming into this, you really don't know how they're going to react or respond.
Thanks, Dave.
Another question from Jorge Castillo. Go ahead.
I just left my hand up, my bad.
I have a question from Michael Duarte. Go ahead.
Hey, Dave. I know he was supposed to have some sort of special advisory role with you guys, but I don't know if that was defined. But with all the Zoom conferencing and the new Edgertronic cameras in the bullpen, what, if any, role is Rick Honeycutt doing or advising for you guys this year?
Well, I know Honey's watching all the games. I exchanged some texts with him. Just kind of, the plan going forward was, he was going to come see us on the road, stay in touch, watch the games, talk to Mark, some of the pitchers, and maybe watch some bullpens, when we're on the road. But that's certainly not going to happen. So it'll be a little bit kind of amended, abbreviated, and we'll see. But I think the most important thing is he's watching, he's staying current.
Thanks, Dave.
Yep.
Thanks, Dave. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.